Look at this, an off day. One game, one day that we have an off day and we get to hang out together with all of you on this Tuesday and have a little mailbag conversation at the PHLY Sixers podcast. Presented by Bet365. Welcome to the show on a Tuesday. Derek Bodner, Kyle Newbeck, I'm Devon Givens.
Gang's all here
with us. We're all here, and get used to it because the season's almost over with 10 games left on the year. And
it is a long off season.
Yes, it will be a long off season. But if they get that top 6 pick and they keep it, it gives us a lot of good stuff to talk about for the next couple of months into Summer League and all. So we appreciate everybody hanging out with us here on a Tuesday, and we got a lot of questions to get to. We'll talk about a lot of things. We might have a little temperature check a little bit here on a non-game day to discuss a little bit later as well. And yes, Igavini, the full roster is available today, and it is nice to be here with Bree and
I have a
the
mailbag
fellas.
question for our illustrious host in the middle here.
Yeah.
How was your night off last night?
It was cool. I was watching Sixers, Pelicans, good times. Watching Wizards and Raptors, more good times.
We're getting to the point of the season where you got to like triple screen these things because
Oh,
there's
man,
so many games
hey,
that matter.
Tomorrow night is a big
Yes.
one for the multi-screen.
Huge. And tonight, Raptors Nets. Tonight, they have 2 more on their schedule. Tonight is the first one, Raptors Nets tonight, and we're rooting for the Nets, right? Yeah, because the Sixers are only a half game up on them, where the Raptors have, 2 games on the Sixers?
So they're
right
2
now?
games. So
you're looking at the
it's
wrong
a
schedule,
matter
buddy.
of priorities, I
What is
think,
it?
right?
There's no Raptors Nets tonight.
What is it?
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow.
It's
I'm
Raptors
sorry.
Net. It's the double
Okay, I
header.
thought it was
Sixers,
tonight.
Wizards, Raptors, Nets. We got the YouTube TV multi-view is going to come in clutch on that one for anybody who's on the streaming services. So
All right,
I'll bring
cool.
a tablet. I'll put it between us on press row.
we will be watching. That's for dang sure. But Devon has been, you're always our point person, right? And you're here with Rich when it's a home game and Derek and I are down there. So I just figured I'd
Yeah, so
check in.
that's
and
what
see
I
if you had
did.
a nice evening.
I would have with the Nets game, but that was so far out of hand already that I was like, all right, that game is over. It's more about this one is on right now. Sixers start. I can watch them while I watch you guys doing the pregame. And so that's what I did on the off night, was watch more bad basketball outside of the Sixers and the Pelicans.
So here's my question for you guys, mailbag question.
Mm-hmm.
If Daryl accidentally put you on a Sixers War Room signal chat, would you take yourself off of it?
No, because I'm not worried about violating the Espionage Act. So
That's the right
Easy
answer, by the way.
decision
I
for
just
me.
wanted to check.
Yes, we want all the information. And
in fact, I would change my name to on Signal
Like
to a
NC
Sixers
for Ned
employee. I would change the avatar. I'd full commit. I'd just sit there and occasionally add a thumbs up emoji to as a
I wouldn't do that
reaction.
because then they'd be like,
No, they might notice
who is
you.
that?
Yeah.
Even
I'm
though
getting
you
off
said the
this
name.
topic though before
Yeah.
anybody gets in trouble. How about
I'm
that?
not referencing anything. Just a
all right.
hypothetical.
Great
that's all.
question, though. That was a good question. A lot of mailbags today for those people, and they did not answer. But we're going to answer our mailbags today here on the Mailbag Tuesday, our only day that we have a full show. Game day tomorrow, off on Thursday and Friday. So we want to give you the schedule right now. 3 p.m. today, game tomorrow, off Thursday and Friday, and then we're here for the full weekend of games Saturday and Sunday for the Sixers as well. Sunday, Sixers Raptors in South Philly. Bree has the schedule
Big
up
one.
there for you. That's a huge
That's
game.
the
Big week.
Super Bowl of
Yes.
tanking.
Yeah. So, but last night was a good one. You guys had the tank off and all that stuff that was a fun one to kind
Wow.
of get into.
Yeah. We had the tournament to talk about for 20
They did
minutes.
scare the
so
hell out of
that
you though
helped.
when they came back.
They took a lead for a couple minutes there. Yeah.
Yes. Scared the heck out of you. We've been talking a lot of tournament these last couple of shows because the tournament starts.
Thank God for the tournament,
Yeah.
man. Watch some
It's
real
like the
basketball.
Olympics when we had it in the summer.
Man.
When we needed the Olympics and we needed college
Higher
basketball.
power looking out for us on the timing.
Yes. So, let's start off with some good mailbag questions here on a Tuesday from all the folks from Twitter, from the Discord. If you have not become a member at the Discord and you want to sign up to become a PHLY member in general, allphly.com. Sign up to become a diehard member, and you get access to the Discord. You get a T-shirt. The weather is warming up. You get a T-shirt so you can flaunt your PHLY gear out there. So that's also on the website, allphly.com. Sign up to become a diehard member. Written articles as well, which is mostly what you're there for. And then the Discord, the T-shirt, buying merchandise as well.
I think that Discord is almost as big of a draw. There's a lot of people who really enjoy that Discord. We get into it in there.
I know we do.
Two of us get into it in there.
I know we do. Yeah, I know we do. All right, let's get to the first question here on this Mailbag Tuesday that we have prepared for you. What do we have here, Bree? From Rodrigo. Checking in. Appreciate it.
Hello, Rodrigo.
If draft night ends with Ace Bailey on the Sixers, where did the pick fall?
So this isn't asking where we would have Ace Bailey ranked, but where we think the Sixers would have Ace Bailey ranked.
And
and also where does the rest of the teams in there have him ranked?
I think it. Go ahead.
I think it's got to be top 3. I think
three.
More specifically, it's the third pick. Because
so.
I do think my sense of the league, not just the Sixers, is that certainly it's Flag at number 1. And I do think it's fairly chalk that Harper is 2. And in maybe not every team has him in a tier by himself, but I believe most teams view him as the clear-cut second guy. And then after that, I believe there are enough question marks for the other guys that Bailey is the third guy. And I think my sense, not necessarily for the Sixers, but for a lot of the teams in this mix, I think some of them are so scared of Bailey hitting a home run and hitting that pie in the sky outcome that they are not going to pass on him for, take your pick, VJ Edgecombe, Yakachonis, Derek Queen, like any of those guys. I don't see a team right now. It could change. Maybe somebody has a crazy workout season. Maybe they interview these guys and they're like, man, I really love what this kid is made of. Like, you never know what can happen. But my guess is Bailey is not a complete lock, but closer to a lock than you think for third pick in the draft.
No, I mentioned this before. I was up at Sloan, the Sloan Sports Analytics Conference a couple weeks ago, and this was one of the things I really asked people, in scouting departments, in front offices. What are your thoughts on Bailey? Well, clearly got talent, but we're scared of this, and this. Okay, there are your concerns. Where do you think he goes? Oh, it's almost a lock. He goes 3. I don't think GMs are going to, and this is I being league personnel. I don't believe that GMs are going to. They're too scared to pass on a guy with that much potential. And because of that, they are going to take him number 3 probably. So I think the general consensus is, I think he's probably I'm not going to say a lock because there is still a big portion of the process to go through. But I think he's a pretty strong, it's a real strong consideration. I think he's close to a lock to go 3. I think that's fair.
So if you look at Charlotte right now, Charlotte has the number 3 pick based on the standings today. So they would have the number 3 overall pick. The one guy that you really compare him to is Brandon Miller. Would you want 2 Brandon Millers on your team where one you feel like you can trust a little bit more with the actual Brandon Miller, and then the other that has the questions? Would Charlotte sit there and do that and take another version of the player that they already have?
I would like Edgecombe there. That's a scenario where you have LaMelo, who's going to have the ball a ton.
Great in transition.
I think playing off of him as the the cutter, the lob threat, doing all that stuff, and you don't have to worry as much about the high-end shot creation upside isn't there because you have a couple of pieces in place. But I do think that is very much that's an Ace Bailey team.
Yeah. No, I mean, there might be individual teams who have a different ranking, but I think the consensus is that he should go top 3.
Yeah. So if the Sixers did end up with 3, let's say they ended up with 4, there's really a slim chance that he slides past 3 to land at the 4 spot for the Sixers, depending on who's in that top 3.
I do think the more that I've watched lots of games from this season that I've had in the DVR backlog, certainly have watched the tournament and seen some of these big prospect matchups. And I think the deeper we get into this year and the more I have just watched all these guys, I think I will probably end up with Ace at 3 in my heart because it's not as much about him as it is I don't feel strongly enough about that other crop of players, right, in their ultimate star potential. Like I think someone like Edgecombe, I like a lot. I think has a very low probability of busting, save for injury scenario or something happens, goes to the wrong place, whatever. I think he will be a good player on a lot of teams, but I don't know that I necessarily believe in the star equity. And so when that is the case, I'm going to probably end up talking myself back into Ace, because I think end of the day, he's still a guy who put up 19, 20 points a game in a major conference. He's a big athletic player. So we've seen the rebounding issues with this team. I think he can help as a rebounder. I do think that the defensive profile is there. I don't think he's a lost cause there. I think there were flashes that you saw as a weak side rim protector, a roamer, you put him next to a real center and some real structure. I think he can help out there. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to be hard for me to say, I'll take one of these guards that have a lot of question marks about. Like, think about it like this. I have question marks about Yakachonis and his ability to beat guys off the dribble and beat NBA level athletes at the next level. If one of the primary concerns with Bailey is the handle, and I do think the handle is a big concern, and the burst and the ability to get by guys, I understand there's a huge playmaking gap. But at the end of the day, it's still guys who can't get by people. Give me the taller guy who I know is going to shoot, who I know is going to make shots, who I feel pretty confident will rebound, and I feel pretty confident will be a defensive guy at some point in his career.
Yeah, I think for the most part, I agree. I think right now I have Ace 4 and Yakachunas 5. So I'm not going to argue that you should take Ace, or that you shouldn't take Ace over him. I do think in terms of getting by people, I think Yakachonis has so much more ability to manipulate a defense and to play at different speeds. So even if you're asking, does he have an elite first step? No, but I think he has ways where he can get to his spots. Whereas Ace, if that handle doesn't get refined, and we have people in chat, Music Lover 31, talking about Ace creating his own shot. If he doesn't improve that handle, I'm not sure he's going to be a high-level shot creator. He might be a high-level shooter and might be able to make one-on-one shots. I don't know about shot creator. He really needs to improve that handle. And I do think, he doesn't have a whole lot of changing gears, changing speeds, changing directions in his game right now. I think that could hold him back quite a bit.
So I'll ask a follow-up question to Rodrigo's question about Bailey, and specific, of course, to the Sixers. How much do you trust this environment to get to weed all those bad habits that we have those questions about Bailey in this situation in Philadelphia to become the player that is worthy of that top 3 pick? When we're talking all-star level player, things of that nature, how much do you trust this environment to maximize his talent and get those bad habits out?
I trust it a lot more than some of the other places he could end up, right? Because let's completely write off Joel Embiid. Let's say he, for whatever reason, doesn't play either most or all of next season. Ace would still come into a franchise that has a max contract, young pillar of the franchise in Maxey. And when Maxey's not on the floor, Jared McCain is still the guy who's like, he's going to bring the ball up. He's going to get you into your sets. He's going to run the offense to some degree. And there will be some level of stability in ball handling, shot creation for 48 minutes or close to 48 minutes, right? That makes me feel a lot better about having Ace on the team. I've said it all along, you can put him in the offense and narrow what he's doing a little bit more than you could if you send him to Washington, to Charlotte, to Utah, to these teams that don't have a lot of guys who you're gonna give the ball to and ask to create. You're gonna just give him the ball, right? And I'm not saying that he's gonna come if you draft him with a top 3 pick. It's not like the Sixers won't feature him. They're not gonna say you don't ever get to dribble, but you can maybe not take away his minutes, but shrink his role. Like if he struggles, you say, okay, Ace, we're not designing this play for you. For this 5 minutes of game time, you have to be an off-ball guy. You have to sit in the dunker spot. You have to be a cutter. You have to be a spot-up guy where you don't have that luxury in other places. So I do think this is a better spot for him. The question will be, is it better for the Sixers, or can they get someone who better helps the Maxies, the McCains, the Embiids round out their weaknesses, or fill in the blanks on the team better than he does?
Yeah, no, I think going to a place where he doesn't have to be that top option right away, where he can focus on some of the smaller things, where he can focus on playing a little bit off ball and locking in defensively and being more attentive as an off-ball defender, I think that would be a good spot for him. A place where he can be that play finisher rather than that play initiator. And I do think the Sixers are, even like Kyle said, even without Joel Embiid, I think they're better equipped than a lot of teams up at the top.
All right, we're going to take a quick pause here. We come right back, and we'll get into more of the mailbag questions. Great one from Rodrigo to start us off about Ace Bailey. Will we have more draft questions? Who knows? More current Sixers questions? Quite possibly. We'll get to those on the other side on a Mailbag Tuesday right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast.
Well, look, we started off this show talking about one ace that we have a lot of questions about, but now we are transitioning to an ace that there are no questions about. Ace Hardware Home Services offers a wide range of residential maintenance, installation, and home repair services that are available, including plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical. They offer free estimates on equipment installation and replacement with trusted advisors and options that are best suited for your home and budget. At Ace Hardware Home Services, whenever they get ready for the next job, they remember what to bring. They bring experience with local plumbers and techs that handle everything from repairs and seasonal maintenance to installations and upgrades. They bring understanding. They listen to your goals, and the job isn't completed until you're satisfied. And they bring helpful to your home, so you can spend more of your time on the projects that really matter. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at www.acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project.
And guys, spring is here, and that means it's time to spring into savings with our good friends at TrueMark Financial Credit Union. I know we've talked about it before, but everyone's financial goals look different. Maybe you're saving up to buy a house. You want to take a huge vacation, fly across the globe, see things you've never seen before or that you've dreamed about. Maybe you just want to build an emergency fund, right? Like, times can get tough, and sometimes you got to have that nest egg to fall back on. Whatever your goals are financially, TrueMark Financial Credit Union has the perfect savings account for you. TrueMark offers a high-rate certificate and money market accounts to help your money grow faster and work harder for you. So visit TrueMark.com for rates and to learn more. TrueMark Financial, federally insured by the NCUA, equal opportunity lender. Rates are subject to change.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast on a Tuesday, Mailbag Tuesday that we have. We're going to keep it going with the, since Derek talked about the Ace Hardware, the question that we know we're going to have here also, we'll get to your super chats here a little bit later as well, is something that we wanted to talk about with the heating up, cooling off of Ace Hardware, the temperature check. So visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your very next project. And Kyle, I'll throw it to you for this one as Bree throws the question up there about Nick and Daryl, Cheddar, Future, Mrs. Oubre.
Temperature check of the hot seats Nick and Daryl are sitting on.
So let's temp check that one.
By the way, Cheddar, not a question, but we'll forgive you for that one.
Future Mrs. Oubre. All right.
I wouldn't say the seats are cold. I don't know that the seats are scorching hot. So somewhere in the, let's say, moderate, right? Like it might be a nice spring day on the seats for
turn them on and
for
off.
Nick Nurse and Daryl Morey.
Look,
there's a lot of conflicting reporting out there, right? Like I believe we all heard the Stephen A. Smith stuff on Countdown and whatnot. There were some Bob Myers related rumors, and I think it's fair to say ownership is not happy with this season. Where I would stop is I don't know that they're going to say, hey, Daryl, this is all your fault, or hey, Nick, this is all your fault. And I think that the point that Derek has made over and over again, which I think is sadly one of the most important ones here, they're owed a lot of money over the next couple of years. And I would be pretty stunned if they're willing to, one, eat the money for both or either head coach and GM, well, president of basketball ops, but functionally the same thing, for the next couple of years, and make a hire that's like people are excited about, that is also going to cost a lot of money. Given what we've seen with, trimming to get under the luxury tax and not exactly spending deep into it and doing everything you can, I don't know. I don't think it's super likely that both of them lose their jobs, but I do believe it's both or nothing, right?
Yeah.
I would find it the least likely outcome, I think, is that Nurse gets fired and Daryl continues to oversee the team. I think it's either both of them are out or both of them stay.
Yeah. I think for the most part, that's true. I do think it's a real tough sell to bring both back.
Yes.
And I understand it's a tough sell to allow Daryl to hire another coach, especially when you're only 2 years after he just hired the last one. And I also understand that like Josh probably doesn't want to eat what I'm guesstimating is somewhere around $72 million that the two of them are owed. So I understand why he wouldn't want to replace both of them. But I don't know how you're going to get people to sit in those stands next year. I don't know how you're going to sell.
Well, you're going to pray you get a number 1 overall pick and Cooper
that
Flag
would work.
sells tickets.
If you get that 10% chance, whatever it is, that would work. Look, and this is a question where I think I'm a little hesitant to answer because quite frankly, I just don't need to be aggregated. Like we're all just reading tea leaves and making guesses. Like if we had anything to report, we would have reported it. So it is, when you're 23 and what are they? 23 and 46, 49?
46.
46, buddy.
Thank goodness. I don't need those extra 3 games.
No, we don't. We wish to have more losses at this point. But they could lose their 50th game of the season tomorrow. Wild. It's insane.
When you are 23 and 49, nobody's seat is cold. Like it's impossible to not be on the hot seat a little bit. Am I going to tell you that they are going to make a change? No, I'm not at that point yet. But yeah, it has to be a little bit warm.
And see, for me, I thought it would be more the coach than it would be the president of basketball operations. For me, personally, because while they both take heat, I thought the one that if you start especially getting into save my job mode as well, and I can figure this out, the one that generally goes first is the head coach. Even though he's been here for the shorter amount of time, I still looked at it where Nurse would be safer Morey would be safer than Nurse. But you guys both make great points that it's both or neither in this particular case. And it doesn't seem like, and look, with all due respect to what Stephen A. Smith and some others have said, it doesn't seem like the seat, as we said. I mean, it's a nice spring day. You turn it on and off. You keep turning on and off. And the one thing that Nurse has helping him is while some of these have been blowouts, the other ones is he's coaching these guys hard and you're getting results, at least of a competitive game, even though the game results into an L. You're getting results there where it doesn't seem like he's lost these guys. Now, they have something totally different to play for than the others, but he hasn't lost them. It doesn't seem like. We were having the questions of, did he lose the other guys, the veterans, the one that were regulars that are playing all the time? And right now, you're getting different outcomes now with this particular group. So I was leaning more coach over president of basketball ops than what the guys had just explained of both. But I can certainly see a case of it's all or nothing when it comes to the front office and the head coach, both out and a new regime in.
And real quickly, like I've mentioned this on the show before, I do think Daryl believes that his willingness to stand by the guys he hires on the coaching side is a sales pitch to like come work with me or like come coach my team, because he has pointed out publicly, privately, whatever in the past that the guys he hires have made it at least 4 seasons, I believe. Now there's a little bit of creativity there where like I think McHale was
I was going to say Kevin McHale might disagree with your point
Kevin
here.
McHale that's a little bit.
He was 20 games into the season?
Letter
maybe?
of the law there on that one. But I think generally when he hires someone, he gives them a full contract or most of their contract to figure things out, and he stands by his guys. So that's one of the reasons. Unless we know ownership around the league is more involved in these decisions than I think people really understand. It could just come to the point where Harris goes to Morey and is like, either you fire Nurse or you're out too. That would make sense to me, because to the point about, selling it to the fans, I don't know how you look at the fans and say,
no clue.
Both these guys are coming back. The roster's not going to change much unless you get Cooper Flag or Ace or Harper. I don't know how you're getting people excited about this team for next year.
I'll just add one more when it comes to the front office piece of the Morey part, which is I with the way the season has gone this season, I can understand where some may look at it and say Morey is definitely on the hot seat, especially when he had Bob Myers help him turn things around with the Commanders and get things right there, where that could be a conversation piece. Not saying that I believe it, but if you were to talk about it and talk yourself into it, I could see that because Myers has had success. He has won, and he helped you turn around and hire the right people in Washington on the football side, where, as many people talk about, that's probably his real baby now with the football team because of his hometown and all. And Myers did that. Myers had a hand in that, and he would feel, if this was the route that he were to go, that he would feel confident that that could happen and turn things around here with the basketball team too. So that's one angle that has been discussed. Don't know that it's true or not, but if I were to suspect, I would suspect that both of these two guys would be back to for the 25-26 season. And they better hope that they get a top lottery pick to go along with it. So that is our Ace Hardware temperature check with the seat heating up, maybe, for the guys in the front office and the head coach. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. Let's keep it going. Get to the next question here. This one from Alexander. Alexander Hamilton. Perfect. All right. My question, what's going on with Embiid's knee? The surgery, procedure, and his availability for the start of next season. Thank you, Alexander Hamilton.
Alexander Hamilton, I know, has been asking this question, not just to me and Derek, but many media members, right? And he's not the only social media user who is interested in it, but I recognize the avatar, the name, all that, that this has been a constant thing.
No, constant, dating back to the days of Aaron Burr, he's been asking this question.
But
first president
here is part of the reason I'm not tweeting about this, I'm not writing about this, we're not talking about this, is because I feel like I and we have laid out to you what the problem is. The problem is there is no cure-all, right? And that was true in December. It was true in January. It's true in February. And I just looked it up to make sure because I didn't want to be wrong on the date. Do you guys know when Joel was shut down for the season?
February
28th.
February 28th. He was shut down the final day of February.
For some reason, it feels like it was longer than that. I would guess like a week or two earlier than that.
Logically, that says to you, they should know what they're doing with him by now. So then you have to take the next step after that. So if we say logically, within a month, you should be able to figure out what you're doing with this guy, what the plan is. Why haven't you figured it out? Well, because there is no fix. There is no surgery. There is no procedure that Joel Embiid can get and walk into a surgery center, a hospital, wherever it is, that they go in there, they move some things around, they add this, they remove that, that says Joel Embiid is fixed, right? The reason is the medical consensus, which has been true since last year, is that he has to adjust to the reality of this knee. And so the people who were like dying for them to shut him down and just get the surgery, that surgery doesn't exist. Yeah. And so I don't know how much more I can tell you, and we can sit here and say, this is a problem that he either has to work through and adjust around, or you have to take one of these Hail Mary scenarios. And because they are Hail Mary scenarios, that would explain to you why nothing is being done. Decision hasn't been made, and there's been no update, because you look at all the options again, and the reality hasn't changed. That's the truth of the matter.
Yeah, I feel like we tried to say this as much as possible. Kyle wrote a couple articles about it. We mentioned it on the show a lot. There's just no obvious, like there was a prevalent notion in the weeks after he came back that like, why are they throwing him out there and why are they not letting him get the surgery? There is no the surgery. There's nothing that is clearly the next step. There are things that they have examined, procedures that they have looked at, but it's like we've mentioned so many times before, all of them have a bad combination of uncertainty whether it would actually fix the issue, uncertainty of whether it would work for a professional athlete, a lot of uncertainty over whether it would work for a professional athlete who is 7 foot 300 or 280 pounds or whatever he's at. And it's just a lot of them are untested and quite frankly, probably not even all that reliable to work. So it is, that doesn't necessarily mean that nothing will happen, but I feel like if there was a clear-cut pathway forward, if there was something that they said, all right, this is what we were going to do anyway, it would have happened by now.
Yeah.
There's no great answer.
You've had more than enough time because, like, truthfully, these conversations are not just based on from when he was shut down till now.
No, it was before.
It's from before the season. It's when he signed the extension, right? Like, okay, if XYZ goes wrong, if his knee doesn't recover the way we want it to, what's the next step? What's the follow-up? Those things are mostly known, right? Like, at least maybe they're not known is the wrong way to say it, but there's at least like, all right, if this happens, then it's like it's tree branches. It could be X, Y, Z. We do this if this happens. And if B happens, then it's 1, 2, 3. We have these options. Well, they got the worst case scenario. And so I believe there would be a worst case scenario set of options. What do we do now? The fact that there has been no movement, at least nothing has happened. I can't say there's been no movement because I don't know who all he's been looked at by, who all they've talked to, et cetera, says it all, right? This is the reality. And maybe there's a procedure at some point. Maybe he gets one of these more experimental things that are more for people in their 50s trying to avoid knee replacements. But like, as far as Derek and I have heard, and Derek, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think the Lonzo Ball meniscus replacement is even an option for him. It has not been floated.
Just aren't many.
It has not been floated as an option as far as I understand. So one of the ones that people were like, he should just get that one. My understanding is that's not even on the table. And so you have to get real deep into we've done whole shows on all the individual things that we've heard as like the radiation treatment he could get is a little more experimental. Then there's I'm going to mess up the name of the surgical procedure, but the one
you were so good at it a couple of weeks ago.
I was, because I was locked in on all the, intentionally breaking bones to realign your body movements and what, what are we doing here, man? The fact that I have to remember all these things. Anyway, the point is there's no update because there's been no update for months. Osteotomy.
Yeah,
is that it? Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah. So that's it. I don't know what else I can possibly say about Joel. I think we've covered it extensively. There's no magic bullet. This isn't a torn ligament that you go in and you fix it and he does 6 months of rehab and then he's back on the floor.
Yeah.
This is a wait and see approach. See how it looks. See what they update you with. And then, of course, see what else comes after when he's actually on the floor to see what he plays like. And we don't know when that is. We don't know how they're going to talk about it publicly, training camp, media day number 1, training camp number 2, and then thereafter, you just have to wait and see. And no one knows what that looks like now because the version that we saw this year, that's not good enough to win. So how does he handle it, though? And does he, like we talked about in the moment, how does he handle it, not just physically, but mentally, knowing that he has to most likely change a big part of his game? But we have to wait to find out. Good question, though. We appreciate the questions coming in on a mailbag Tuesday. When we come back, we'll get into a few more here as we hang out with you on a Tuesday here. Mailbag Tuesday here on the PHLY Sixers podcast presented by Bet365. And I got to tell you about a few things here on our show here today. And you started off with our good people from, it's perfect. Talking about looking at some betting situations and you're looking at, and in the moment, do I talk about Joel and what he's going to be able to do out there on the floor? Well, you can't do that anymore, but you can still do some of the other NBA stuff that does in fact happen, like NBA Tip-Off Tuesdays. It's another Bet365 NBA Tip-Off Tuesday where you place qualifying parlay bets totaling $20 or more on tonight's NBA games. And you get up to $25 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions apply. That's, again, placing qualifying parlay bets totaling $20 or more on tonight's NBA games and get up to 25 in those bonus bets. Overall, when it comes to Bet365, they have over 90 million users worldwide. What are you waiting for? You should join as well. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Live streams, over 780,000 events each year, early payout offers across the NBA. They have pioneered the live in-game betting. So if you don't like something in the moment or you see something changing in another game that you did not place a wager on, you go right to Bet365. And the breaking news from Bet365 about Bet365, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Here's all you have to do for those new users. Sign up. Use the code PHLY365. Deposit 10, place a bet for 5 to get $150 in those bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Baseball season is right here, right now. Bet some futures right there at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. I also want to tell you about GLAT Hair Restoration. Good friends from GLAT. Morgenstern Center for Orbital and Facial Plastic Surgery recently welcomed the GLAT group to the practice, creating an invaluable opportunity to leverage Dr. GLAT's high caliber brand equity and begin an exciting chapter in Dr. Morgenstern's highly respected legacy. A true advocate right here at PHLY. John Marks, spearheading the marketing campaign for many, many years on this platform and educating his audience through authentic stories and engaging narrative. And when you see John, and he'll show you the before and the after of all of it, listen, you see John, you see a full head of hair and it looks great. So, if you want to be like John, GLAT Morgenstern is the place for you to go. Here's what you get: one-on-one care, a 100% personalized hair restoration plan of action designed just for you and your specific hair loss. Follow-up care that goes along with it. Cutting-edge hair, loss prevention treatments, medications, and more. GLAT Hair can help you keep the hair you already have or help bring back what you have already lost. If you'd like more information and are ready to defend your hairline today, visit GLATHairMM.com. That's GLATHairMM.com. Or you can call or text 610-980-4000. Once again, call or text. You can get in on the texting game with GLAT and Morgenstern, 610-980-4000.
So I just sent something to Bree. I know we're doing a mailbag, so we don't have to go too deep on this today. There was apparently a report from Sportico within the last hour and a half that NBA owners are set to vote this week on a plan to launch a pro basketball league in Europe. Under the proposal, the NBA would own 50% of the league, with franchise owners holding the other 50%. And I believe there will be a potential pathway or invites for EuroLeague teams, so some of the top teams over there, to be part of that league. So
now, to be clear, and I'm saying to be clear, like I've read about this proposal. I haven't. It literally came up while we were doing a show.
Yeah.
This wouldn't be putting NBA teams in Europe. They wouldn't be playing in
well,
the
not
NBA.
yet anyway.
Yeah.
This is certainly like a test the water sort of deal, see what you can do. I would not be stunned. This would be long term.
Yeah.
I would not be stunned to see some European teams eventually find their way over to the real NBA.
Interesting. Okay.
Got to cut down those flight times.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's some logistical problems hurdles you got to clear, but yep.
Wow, interesting. So maybe not just preseason games over there. You might find some other opportunities to play some teams over there. If that in fact happens. Interesting to vote on the European League. A lot of, just get some players over there. I mean, they already go over there, find some money if they can't make it here, but partnering up and, hey, that film, man, go over there, go play.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think for the most part, anytime you can increase the awareness of and in turn the interest in basketball, I think it's a good thing.
Yep.
Like we've seen that over the last 20 years with how many Europeans have come to the NBA. Well, there's a lot more people playing basketball over there now, so you're getting better talent coming into the league. So I think if this can improve like the visibility of the sport of basketball, I think that's great. The thing is, the EuroLeague's pretty visible. Like there's a lot of interest in the EuroLeague. There's some good money over there. Not every league. You know, like a lot of times, there are a couple Sixers players.
I know Tucker's
Aldemir,
over
I think maybe he
Yeah.
ended up coming over here because they pretty much just stopped paying their team. Like, so there's some teams that have real cash flow issues, but there's some teams that pay really good money.
Yeah, like
And
Real Madrid, where
Yeah.
Yabu was playing, for example.
so it's not like, I don't think like Europe is starving for basketball. I think there's really good leagues over there, but if you can get an infusion of cash and just increase the visibility of the sport, I think it's a good thing.
Yep.
All right, let's get to some.
Just wanted to bring that up.
No,
that's all.
that's an interesting one, and see how that one plays out. Let's get to some more of the questions here on this Mailbag Tuesday. Nikki G checking in. Maybe a part of
Another non-question, by the way.
maybe a part of the show is a discussion on what the Sixers do if they lose the pick. It's clearly a real possibility. So let me rephrase it. What
cried
would
for a
happen?
week
Have you ever
straight.
seen the gif of Shane Gillis putting a gun to his head and then pointing it at other people? You know, draw your own conclusions on that analogy.
To be clear, I am not killing anyone. To be clear.
I am not.
I am going to cry for a week straight, but I will not harm anyone.
So I'll ask it in the question form. What should the Sixers do if they lose the pick?
Cry.
Yeah, cry. Look, even if they get a pick, I don't think there's a great pivot point anyway. It's just you now have another young player you can help build around. So do you trade Embiid? Who's trading for him? What are you getting?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think the market fundamentally changes either way. You just become more desperate, which isn't a great place to operate at. Honestly, and this is going to piss everyone off, I think you bring Embiid and Paul George back and hope they can rehabilitate their value a little bit.
I don't know that you can do much else. So unless you're willing to say, all right, Joel is cooked and we'll write off the season for him. But in that instance, you're saying maybe we trade Maxey now when he's closer to peak value and we eat another horrible season and just kind of fade into nothingness for a year or two.
So this goes back into Devon's trade Maxey column.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Coming soon to allphly.com. Yeah.
Correct.
I think the most likely outcome if they don't have the pick is not true run it back, but closer to a run it back and make fringe moves. You hope the Grimes edition makes some, a meaningful ad on a full strength team. McCain's return, you get the boost. Like that'll be how they'll spin it. They'll say, well, we'll have more youth, more athleticism, blah, blah, blah. Justin plays a full role, and that'll be kind of the case that they make.
Our big pickup was Grimes. That
Yeah.
was our big pickup.
I don't think that there's a better path if they don't have the pick. I don't know how, because you're not getting off of Joel's deal. And without that pick, you could trade Paul George in the offseason, regardless of whether you have the pick. But there are far fewer options of like what you could do with him. There'd be a lot more, hey, we're dumping him for contracts, whatever. Whereas if you get, let's say, pick 6, for example, I think that's a difficult spot that we've talked about in this draft. Well, then maybe you say that's what we're attaching to Paul George. And I believe that's actually one of the other mailbag questions in here. So, yeah, you cry is what you do if you don't have the
I
pick.
cry for
I
a
think
very
is
long
kind
time.
of the moral of the story.
Very frustrated if they don't get the pick. I saw somebody talking about it in the chat with you guys yesterday. Those darn 4 Charlotte wins are destroying the Sixers right now.
It really is.
At the moment, though, we were looking at a different season.
Almost 25% of their wins on the season have come against the Charlotte Hornets.
It was a different season, man. You had to get those wins at that time. It wasn't one of them like a overtime win, or at least a last second.
It was
win?
it was a Sunday game
Here.
where PG played.
Yes.
And it was a weird.
So they are 4-0 against the Charlotte Hornets and 19-49 against the rest of the league.
Good times.
Unbelievable.
Good times. Good times. All right. Let's keep it going with the questions. We appreciate that question, though. Nikki G, thank you. We appreciate that one. Alonzo asks,
So there you go.
are they going to have to package that first rounder, assuming they keep it, to get someone like Paul George?
To get someone to take Paul George.
Sorry, to take Paul George.
No,
I would not give up a pick just to get off of Paul George's contract.
I would not either. I'm riding it out for at least another season.
If you're saying get an upgrade on Paul George,
Kevin
that
Durant.
might be different, but not just to get off of Paul George's contract.
Yeah, I do not care enough about getting off of Paul George's contract to lose the value, flexibility, and potential youth injections of future picks.
Paul George's contract will impact you for the next 3 years. And it's not even like the impact is sometimes overstated because you could zero out that contract and still not have significant cap space. That draft pick could influence you for the next decade.
Yep.
Do not get rid of a prime asset like that just for a short-term win.
In the short term, what you could get is a better version of Paul George than you saw this year. You could, right? Because he comes in healthy, not injured, doesn't bust his knee up twice. The finger is healed. Yes, maybe something else will pop up and there will be some things, but if there is some pride there based on what we saw this season, we saw it number one where he decided he was hanging up the microphone to focus on the championship run. All right, didn't work out because he had to get shut down for the remainder of the season. But that's a start. Of course, it's a start where he comes back next season and he plays like Paul George and you get him next to Embiid, next to Maxey. That if you're incorporating the pick, that means you get one of those young talents that goes with the rest of the lineup. You keep Grimes and you have McCain back healthy as well. That's a pretty darn good 6 to start off with as your 25-26 season to see where you go from there. So I agree with these guys that you don't do that. You just keep it rolling, see if he's a better version of himself next year and increase the value, number one, but also most importantly, in the moment, you get a better player and a better player to help out and win games as a contending team, you would think, in the Eastern Conference. So you keep him and you don't give up any picks and hope that he's better.
There is nothing that matters more in the NBA in general, but specifically nothing that matters more with the Sixers and where they're at than hitting in the draft. It's the most important part of this sport. You just cannot toss away a prime opportunity. And that's why we've been sitting here for the last 2 months talking about tanking.
I was going to say, Chris in the chat, great point, says people forget attaching a pick to a bad contract is what got us in this situation of hoping for a top 6 pick. That is exactly right. Don't make a short-term, this has to be done decision for something that can impact this team for 10 to 15 years.
And in Daryl's defense, and I know that's a bad way to start a sentence here in 2025, but when he made that trade, he thought that pick was going to be in the 20s. Mm-hmm. He didn't make that trade thinking he was giving Oklahoma City a top 10 pick. A lot of things had to go wrong to get to this point. Willingly giving up a top 10 pick now, or a top 6 pick, because it has to be top 6 pick for you to get it, just to get off of 3 years of a contract. No way.
Hell, started this season, we thought that was going to be in the 20s.
We expected it to be in the 20s.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Oops. Absolutely. So here we are. Would you say 50 tomorrow?
We'd be under so much less duress if it was top 10 protected and not top 6, man. Yeah.
So not in Daryl's defense. Could have done a better job of protecting that top 10 a couple of years ago. All right. Let's go to the next one here with Ashley. Checking in, say, is center a viable option in the first or second round? Ashley, great question, because we've talked about Malawak a lot from Duke, and we've recently talked a lot about, including you guys last night, Derek Queen.
Viable, yes. Likely, I would say no.
I would also say including first or second round completely changes that question, because what's viable in the second round is just a complete, 100%. You're just swinging for the best player available at that point, someone you think can actually stick in the league. So yeah, if that's a center, you take it.
So let me add to it then, because as we talk about Queen and you guys talked about him yesterday.
Queen spells his first name wrong. I'm out.
Wow.
Completely out.
Is it two R's or one R?
The wrong Derek spelling.
With the I, right?
The long sleeves. There's just there are a lot of big PHLY Sixers red flags that were thrown up.
If he's a Sixers draftee and he sits down with us, we're asking him, number one, why do you wear long sleeves? Number two,
can we speak to your parents? Because that is not how you spell Derek.
Exactly. Yeah, change it. Question though, in the NBA, what is his position?
I think it's a center. I think it's a poor rim protection center.
Okay.
I don't think he moves his feet well enough on the perimeter to be a power forward. I think people still look at power forward as big man. It's really not. It's another forward. It's another wing. And I think he would get roasted on the perimeter.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Throw that out there.
If I thought he could move his feet well enough to play power forward and shoot well enough from perimeter and all that, then I would, look at his versatility differently.
Is he an option at 6? We have to talk about that though. A little bit more. We have to talk about that at some point. being an option at number 6 overall.
I think I'm going to end up being talked into him higher than I should be because I have talked myself out of some of the, maybe not talked myself out of some of these other guys, but I'm at least like,
Mello says Şengün.
Enough question marks.
Little Şengün for Derek Queen. Little comp Şengün.
But yeah, so to answer Ashley's question, once you open up the second round, then you like, I don't know, if you're at 35 or whatever and like Alex Condon out of Florida is there, it's like, that's not a crazy pick. Now, I don't love his fit in the way the league is today because I don't think he's a spacer and I think he's got defensive concerns, but talent-wise, he's pretty good, productive player at Florida. So like you get into guys like that. The kid
from Creighton is one that's been around forever, and you've seen him where he can shoot, he can score. He certainly defends the paint, but I mean, even in the 30s, it's not a bad idea for a different type of
By
guy.
the way, isn't that pick, that 35th pick, didn't they get that back from Dallas?
From the Grimes trade.
That was just a home run on every angle. It's amazing what they got from that trade.
Yeah.
I think I gave them like
big for us too, because
Yeah.
not that we will celebrate a second round pick as much as a top 3 pick in this draft.
Talk
but
about it though.
even if they lose the pick, at least there's some kind of draft stuff we can talk about.
35 is a not nothing pick. Like that's a
An
valuable
extended first
pick.
round.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kalkbrenner. Look out. I mean, you've seen him forever, so you kind of know who he is as a player. So we'll see. But yeah, I don't know. The Queen thing. We're going to talk about him a lot. Hopefully,
He's just
pick.
the exact archetype I don't like as a modern big man.
Doesn't mean we won't.
It's
talk
not
about
that
him.
he's not talented. It's not that I don't understand the appeal. I just think they're real hard to build around.
All right. Let's keep it going. Some more questions there. Ecstatic Eagles fan. Aren't all Eagles fans
Yeah, I was gonna
ecstatic
say.
right now?
Yeah.
If the
Thank
Sixers
goodness.
keep the pick, what does the future look like for this team? Would they be more focused on contending or ensuring a strong future around their young players?
I mean, I think they probably try to do what Golden State tried to do a couple of years ago and have a dual
2
timeline.
timelines,
Yeah.
baby, which is everyone's favorite approach.
Which, again, isn't even necessarily like, I think people would think they're focused on win now. It's almost that you have to be when you can't move Joel Embiid for anything even approaching any kind of value, and he's going to be on the roster. Like, you're always going to keep that what if in the back of your head and wonder if you can compete this year. But also now you have a top 6 pick along with McCain and Maxey and Grimes, quite frankly, at his age. Well, it depends on what they do with that pick. But you have young players, and you do kind of have a dual timeline.
Here's what I would say. I think it wholly depends on, not wholly, it largely depends on what pick you get. Because I think Cooper Flagg can impact winning immediately. I think he is such a good two-way player that's a guy who could come here next year and make a material difference to this team, whether Joel's healthy, whether Paul George plays better. Like, you give McCain and Maxey and Grimes a Cooper Flagg who is this do-it-all player, he's going to erase some of their flaws and heighten some of their strengths. Like, I think he could come in and make an immediate impact. I think there are other guys who will come in and will play well, but I don't think will necessarily have an impact on winning. So I would phrase it like that.
All right, let's get to some more because we have quite a few of these.
And we have super chats.
And we have
too.
super chats. Yeah, so let's get to a few more here from C. Should the 76ers take Dylan Harper if he's the top player on the board? Let's say they end up with pick 3 through 6, considering they'll have Maxey, Grimes, and McCain on the roster next year.
First of all, yes. Second of all, I don't think he's going to be there by pick 3. So.
He will not.
Yep.
I would be shocked if he's available at 3. And the main thing here is, this is no disrespect to Jared McCain, who had an amazing start to this year. I think we all have high hopes for. You're not passing on a kid who people believe is a top 2 talent in this class because a rookie guard had 15 good games in 23 games played, right? Like, that's just, it's not a reasonable position to take, especially a kid who was not like a blue chip guy, right? He came in and was a surprise force the way he started last season. I think Jared has a really bright career in front of him, but I think in terms of like just the prospect profile and the types of players they are, I would bet on Dylan Harper turning into a star level player before I would bet on McCain.
And what I'll say, like, because I think some people will be worried about, like, oh, well, are you going to, ruin Jared McCain's trade value? I think those are all four of them, quite frankly, can play off of each other in offensive roles. Now, you're not going to be able to compete defensively with the four of them, I don't think. I don't think there's really any great combinations that have three of them on the floor at the same time and still be a good defensive team. But as long as Jared McCain comes back next year, he's healthy, he's putting up good numbers offensively, he's going to maintain trade value. And in fact, just based off of the way second-year players tend to improve, there's a real chance he has more trade value at this time next year, even if you put him in a role where the team as a whole can't really compete defensively. So I don't think you have to rush to a decision. You bring Harper in, you see how he looks, you see the kind of step that Jared McCain makes, and then you can go from there.
All right, keep it going here with the questions. Got some super chats upcoming here as well. Before we get to those, let's get to another question. Robert Lyon says, what teams own any future Sixers first-round picks in case there is a trade to try and get them back in the future?
I know the Nets own the rights to the next one, right? Is that? Or they own the rights to one of these.
So obviously
future...
OKC for this year. If it doesn't convey this year, OKC gets next year's pick. Yeah, Brooklyn gets 2027. I think that's the last one they owe then.
Yeah.
Because 2029, the Sixers have the right to swap picks with the Clippers, but it's at the Sixers' discretion. So yeah, I think the 2027 to Brooklyn is the last one. It's just this one to OKC, then one more to Brooklyn, and then you're clear.
Yeah, and to the other part of the question, which is there a way for them to get those back? Not likely. I mean, unless you're trading someone of pretty significant value, I don't know why the Thunder or the Nets would be interested in giving you back picks that have a reasonable amount of upside at this point, both because of Joel's health and whatever happens with the team in the years to come.
All right, let's mix in a super chat from Davon, who asked the question kind of along the lines we mentioned a little bit earlier. Kyle, if we can't get ace or flag, I mean, it's of course the Sixers, I'm hoping we can package Paul George and the pick for Kevin Durant. At least he's on the last year of his contract. If that's possible, I'm doing it.
Yeah, look, I think Kevin Durant's going to be on the move this summer. So
certainly, I just don't know how you outbid the teams that will be in on him. I think the most likely outcome is KD ends up in like Houston, and they have picks that they're willing to offer, more young talent that they can send with easier to move contracts. Like, I just don't see how the Sixers can make the best offer without trading someone that Sixers fans would be very mad about moving.
Yeah. I also don't know, because a lot of times, especially with these, and KD has talked about, he wants to go out on his own terms. Mm-hmm. I don't know why he would pick Philadelphia. And not that he necessarily has to because he's under contract for one more year, but if you're going to give up prime assets, you want him to be happy where he's coming. There's so much uncertainty in Philadelphia that you would think he would want to go somewhere else.
Yeah, it just seems like Houston is going to be the spot. Looks like Houston's going to be the spot. So
where else could you see KD going if it's not Houston? Because they've been attached to him since last offseason, I think.
I can see Memphis with some young talent there. I don't know their stockpile of draft picks, but I could see Memphis as a possible destination.
You think Denver would make a move for him or attempt to make a move for him? Because clearly, I think if they crap out this year, there have been rumors about trying to move Porter's contract and turn that into other guys, and I think it's mostly been split it up. But if you're of the mindset hey, we got to get someone to help Jokic win now,
that makes sense.
I just don't know what the value proposition is for Phoenix in that scenario.
Yeah, I mean, picks if they want young players, Christian Brown would number one that would be thought of. Somebody like Strawther maybe, but that might not be enough. At that point, you might as well trade Booker too and just start all over. All right, we're going into overtime, folks. On this Tuesday with our Mailbag Tuesday. Make sure you follow up with us from the TV side on the allphly.com side to continue to watch the show here as we finish off our few super chats and our final mailbag questions as well. Just to be clear, I would love to have Kevin Durant on the Sixers. That would be fun. I would love that. Yes. All right.
Devon higher than I am on it, but still, if you're turning PG into KD, I think that's a pretty clear upgrade.
Not only do you get the better player, but get 2 fewer years on the contract.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. All right. Let's keep it going with Riaz. Guys, will the Sixers officially shut down Maxey for the year? I'm afraid I'm going to turn on the TV and see Maxey and Oubre starting in a tank game. They did mention that we might see him on the trip, and we didn't see him on the trip. We only saw them on the bench, as we should, but there were some reports saying that they was working out pregame of was it the Hawks game? I think it was
one of the recent games at the end of the road trip.
Why? Like, let's say he needs 2 or 3 more games off. And why would you bring a star back from an injury with 7 games left? You wouldn't. Even just forget about the fact that losses are better for you. Like, even just if you didn't care, if your pick was already traded full stop, why would you even bother bringing him back from an injury with 7 games left?
Because you can't convince him to sit out. That's literally the only reason. Thing. It's the only reason.
Makes 0 sense.
And getting fined by the league.
I'm sorry. I don't care about any more Josh Harris's national TV helicopter games?
Oh, I don't care about that either. I've been pretty clear about that over the years. But that would be the only reason I could see him wanting to bring
take an Uber instead of a helicopter, Josh, a couple times.
By the way, our buddy Roy Burton. What up, Roy? KD to Miami? ? With the Kevin Durant.
To play with who is kind of the
I don't think he would want to play with Tyler Hero and Bam. It's just the 2 guys. I don't think that he would want to do that.
Haven't they lost like 12 out of 13 or something like that? Wildly.
Yeah. Now maybe it's just he's like I don't necessarily care about the final ring chase, and he is the allure of South Beach and playing down there. Maybe there's something to it, but I don't think that's how KD is wired. I think he wants to try to win still. Yeah. So and I do respect that about him. Like, well, one day we'll have our Warriors argument about Kevin Durant, but the one thing you can say about him is that he wants to compete at the highest levels. So
yep. No question. And Lee with the final super chat. When will the Sixers and Embiid just make a decision on his next steps? Feels like we're wasting months here, which could bleed further into next season.
Yeah, so we did talk about this, Lee, but I think that is a fair connection to what we were saying earlier, right? Is if he's going to get a surgery, you don't wait over a month from when he's ruled out for the season to say, well, now we're going to make a decision. So this is not me reporting anything. I'm just telling you, sometimes 1 + 1 = 2. Right now, he's ruled out, but they've taken a month and there is no surgery announcement. There might not be one.
Here I thought I was the math guy on the show.
Well, Kyle, you said it from the beginning of the season. The messaging has not been all that great for the 24-25 Sixers. Here we are with 10 games left. Messaging still up in the air of how they're going to go about things.
Bree, do we have other mailbag questions left?
Yes, we do.
Ooh,
yeah, that's
perfect.
Why. Yeah.
Well, double OT, baby.
Double OT. Let's keep it going. Steph, I'd like to know your favorite prospects to look out for within the top 5.
So, I mean, I guess outside of all of us just listing the same 3 people, because or at least the same 2. I think we all have the same top 2, right?
Flag, Harper,
Bailey,
Edgecombe.
That's your 4 for sure.
Yeah, we all have the same 4. We might rearrange 3 and 4, some of us, but we're all pretty much in the same spot on it. So let's just talk about 5. Who do you got at 5?
I don't feel good about any of them, honestly. At 5, well, I feel okay, but I don't feel like, oh, this is definitely my guy. I think I would maybe lean Yakachonis for now, because there have been stretches of this year where the playmaking, the feel, the shot making, all that looked really good. And then I watch him play against, high level athletes, and I'm like, ugh, I don't know.
The first game I saw was against Duke at the Garden. They got blown out in that one, and he wasn't good. I saw the conference tournament games. He looked okay. And then these last 2 games before they were eliminated, he just looked okay. I mean, I know what it looks like and what you try to project out and you see something, but even still, it's just like, that's my option. We're sitting here worried about them tanking, and that's the choice that I have to make right there. Not that he's not a good player, and we compare him to other players like Josh Giddey and the type of stuff that you see there. But even when we had the conversations about Josh Giddey, just hypothetically, as a member of the Sixers on this particular team, we saw it with OKC, and they gave up on him. And that's the championship team, contending team.
Yeah, I think he's going to be better than Giddey. At least better than Giddey was before the season.
Okay.
I think he does a much better job getting to his spots off the dribble. I think he uses the threat of the pass, the threat of the shot, the threat of the step back, and just the ability to get defenders off balance.
So he's clearly your 5, right? Just today.
He's my 5, yeah. Part of that is that, and this is where I will admit, I think I have a bias for players who see the game as well as he does. So I will have faith that he will find ways to get to his spots at the NBA level, even if he doesn't have the athleticism to necessarily inspire a ton of confidence. But I'm also at the point where they've had so many negative passers and negative decision makers. You give me one guy on the team who I think has a creativity to create open shots, I might over-index a little bit on that one.
So that's what I was about to say is I am worried that because I've been so desperate for them to have a passer, I'm like, this guy's a good passer. He's one of the top prospects. Just put him there. Like that. I don't want to be reactionary because I think that's how you get into trouble. But I think he is a top 2 passer in this class. Like I think Agor is a better, when you combine the size, the vision, and the actual mechanical passing, I think he is the best passer, but he has more concerns. He has the same concerns as Yakachonis and less of the, I think, like on-ball shot making, less of the ability to get by guys and play kind of a flexible role, right? Like I think Yakachonis I feel better about as if somebody else is running the offense. He has better feel as the guy who's coming off a movement, finding the sweet spots in the defense, or the soft spots, I should say. So, yeah, I think I would go Yakachonis 5, but I don't feel as good about it as I would like to.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 for me are Yakachonis and Queen right now, and I think everybody.
What happened to your boy?
I was about to say everybody knows that I like Trey, but I saw what everybody else saw. Even though he had 18 in one or 20 in the one game, just you see it in a lot during the regular season. You say, okay, is he going to change up a little bit when the games really, really matter? And you saw the same kind of lax thing about him. He can score the hell out of the basketball, but that stuff, especially on this team, it's like, nah, you don't need that right now. So if anything, I would probably move my other guy up in front of him right now, just because his motor.
And your other guy being Queen?
Fears.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I really like Fears. The more I've started to watch
between those two, I would go Fears over Johnson right now. So
it's a shame because I think Trey can make every shot on the floor. He's an incredible shooter.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there are so many. He's the one where I'm like,
bad habits.
The habits on both ends are just like, oh my God.
And I think a lot of people will focus offensively because the assist numbers aren't what you want, all that stuff. No, his defensive decision making is even worse.
And I love the offensive stuff where he's probably going to be like, no, I need the basketball. I love that. No, Maxi's good, but I need the basketball. I love that mentality. But the other stuff of just, man, did he just get beat backdoor 3 times in a row for a layup? He's getting snatched.
Did he just take a 35-footer
a Ricky
that
shot.
barely hit the rim?
A Ricky shot.
Very talented, though.
Really talented. So I just hope that he ends up in a really good spot where I like watching him from afar and he learns from the mistakes. And that maybe dropped him to 7 or 8 instead of being picked at 5 or 6 where he could have been there. But the Fears thing, if we get some good stuff from like the combine and his interview, his one-on-one with the team and the workout and all that stuff, might have to hold me back a little bit because if they get 5 or 6, I just
wish he was a better fit. It's
know.
So hard to justify on this team. Like I do think he will probably be one of my favorite prospects.
Yeah.
Team agnostic
to watch.
But for the Sixers,
But that's where we'll get into the fit versus just adding talent conversation that we'll have, I'm sure, if they keep this pick overall. So that's where we are. What do we got next, Bree? Philadelphia, we're trading Paul George because of an underwhelming and in an elevated role. Quentin Grimes' explosion be reactionary, or would it be the right move?
I mean, it's. I think they're independent. Like they just don't overlap positionally at all, and you don't trade a good defensive 3-4 because a 2 breaks out. Yeah. Like you trade Paul George because you don't want that money tied up to Paul George, or because you don't believe in Paul George. Doesn't really have much to do with Quentin Grimes.
Yeah, you don't trade Paul because of Quentin Grimes. No. Just straight up. You trade Paul because you don't believe in him and you think the contract is a negative. I think that's pretty simple.
Yeah.
And you're getting Kevin Durant back. That's why. All right, let's keep it going.
For your sake, I kind of hope this happens.
David says, is it too late for Grimes to win most improved player? He should at least get some votes, right? I think it's too late. Kate Cunningham probably has that locked up.
And I also
that's one of the few preseason predictions it looks like I'm going to get right, by the way.
Our non-6, well, no, you did have the Orlando.
No, our bold ones mine were bad. So you got to live with it.
I was going to say our non-Sixers predictions were good, but that's not even really true.
Yeah.
The year before,
we were
when
on
it was just Derek and I, we
you
nailed
showed
it.
up and you
Devon
screwed
brought us
everything
down,
up.
damn it.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I think we might have gotten all one right the rest of the way. So it's cool though. We'll have some playoff predictions too. See how that goes.
Yeah, tune in for that one.
Yeah.
I think it's too late. I don't think voters are going to care too much about what happens in March.
Also, just not the type of player that wins MIP award anymore. It's become the former top 5 pick in year 3 breaks out award. Which
has he even won Player of the Week yet? As going off like this, I don't even think
he probably has. I actually don't know that. I don't
think
Player of the
has.
Week is one of those that I never pay attention to.
I don't think he has though. I just don't think he's won Player of the Week for the Sixers yet. So, and he's been on a tear. But then you have
you're talking about Grimes. Not Cunningham. Okay,
no, I just mean Grimes. Yeah. I don't think
my mistake.
Yeah, I don't think he's won Player of the Week yet.
No, I think I would have remembered that.
Yeah, so no. Good question though, but
can't guarantee it, but I think
Kate Cunningham's got that one squared away. All right. Last one, Bree says. All right. Hey Kyle and the Discord fam.
But not
getting
the
all
rest
this question in the Discord. This is Val. All right, Valerie.
Hey Val.
Hey Val. Thoughts on the goal for next season wins?
Win or build.
Win or build.
And we kind of already talked about that.
Yeah.
So maybe the second half.
Win and build. Because if they're keeping this team together, they're trying to win now because Embiid and George are there, but also that future of Maxey potentially with whomever comes in and Jared McCain. That's what it looks like.
Yep.
And then the second half of the question, and thoughts on the chances of women coaching an NBA team. I honestly think if Becky Hammond hadn't left for the WNBA,
because
she
was
would be
an
a
interim
head coach,
right?
She was the interim.
Yeah.
I think she would have probably.
She got interviews.
Yeah.
I think by now she would have gotten a job. I think the respect level for her around the league was pretty high. So I think that's a when, not if thing.
Yep.
Now the when could still be a while, but increasingly you're seeing more women in front offices, more women as, assistant coaches, player development staffers and whatnot. So
yeah,
I think it's a matter of time, right?
I also wonder if she did leave because she didn't like whatever the trajectory of that whenever it happens, that she kind of got, wind of it still might be a while. So she said, let me go take this gig, WNBA, still get some good pay, win some championships like she's done, and she's a head coach.
I don't blame anybody Derek and I were talking yesterday about we were surprised when Kevin Young, who seemed like he was head coach in waiting in Phoenix, took a college job, but you get the lead job, and right now that looks like a great gig because the NIL money there is significant. They have a big time recruit coming in next year, so that could turn into a long term. You're the head coach of a big program.
Well, and that last point is key. There's just so much more job security in college, especially if you get to a point where you have real resources behind you. Like you can be there for 20 years. Whereas a lot of times when you're a first-time NBA head coach, you come into a spot, it's usually not a great spot. You have a lot of scrutiny. You have to clear a bar that a lot of times, even if you do a great job, it might not work out if you're front office doesn't give you the resources. So I would understand going to a college spot instead.
Once he got passed up for Vogel, he knew exactly where it was. And that's why he left.
So I don't, to circle back to the question we were answering for Val, I don't ever blame anyone who's like, I don't like the look of the landscape. Becky leaves for the WNBA. KY leaves for BYU. Like, perfectly understandable decisions.
Watching his team is fun. They just run NBA stuff.
Yep.
That they just run. So
Helps when they have a really good passer too.
Yeah.
Jaeger.
Yeah.
Can't score, but really good passer.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, really good passer. All right. That looks like that'll do it for us. Is tonight or is that tomorrow? When is Fran's
Tonight.
It's tonight?
I believe it's tonight.
Well, people.
Film room event.
You missed out. So when you hear all the great stuff about the film room event, make sure you sign up for the one in May. There's a second date. So sign up for Fran's film session, which one will be tonight and the second one will be in May. Become a diehard member. Sign up there. AllPHLY.com. Get all the great stories written by these guys from Fran and Zach and Bo and Les Bowen on the Eagles. Baseball is starting for the Phillies on Thursday. Jim Salisbury, all the great written content there. And, of course, the second tank team. Bill told us this is the second tank team. Charlie's writing about it with the Flyers. So make sure you go.
The Bash Brothers of tanking, Sixers and Flyers.
Go become a diehard member. Sign up at allphly.com. Let's get to the world famous roll call for the only 3 p.m. show we have this week. Games the remainder of the way this week.
We're only a couple weeks away from nothing but 3 p.m. shows, everybody. So get used to this time again.
Too early. Goodness gracious.
Right on time. I don't know what you're talking about. Thank you, everyone, for being here, including our late arrivals, like our friend Joaquin from Cherry Hill, who came popping through at the end. Thanks to...
Busy with classes today.
Listen, whatever it is, I think Winona was busy earlier. She still checked in. We had Hedfa coming in late.
Yeah.
It's still nice to see our people at some point. They show up for us. They make time in their days to be here with us.
I am just saying, Hedva, like if you are going to be late, let us know so we can read your question later on in the show.
Thank you also to Jess, to Money Mar, to Val, who had a mailbag question today.
What up? What up?
Igavini, who was first in the show, was showing out for us, is still here.
Yes.
To our guy, Roy Burton.
What up, Roy?
What's up, Roy?
Gotta get you in here, man.
We do have to get Roy in here hanging out. Inigo Yams Toya.
What up, Yams?
Checking in today. We had Vincent was super active talking about prospects and the draft today. It's up to Vincent, not our Vince. Well, our
he
Vince,
was super active
but not
earlier
in the
today
office,
too.
Vince.
Yeah.
Vince out to what is it? South to Mountain?
Vincent S.
I know Vince S. Yes. What up, Vince?
What up, Vince? We got Superb is in here today. Superb that you showed up for our show. We got Jerry Sinclair.
What up, Jerry?
We got Lee. What up to Lee? You better love somebody.
You better love somebody. Love
Hinky,
somebody.
Mellow 3 Point.
What up, Mello? Mello, my man.
We got Brandon C. Jeffrey Stewart. We got Gene. And not Jeannie. This is another Gene.
What up, Gene?
What's up to Gene? Bree, who were our super chatters today other than the wonderful people I named? We had Davon, already said Lee, and we had Riaz. Plus, thank you to all our people who answered or asked mailbag questions today to check in. Of course, we had the world famous Alexander Hamilton. How could you forget about that?
Love when the presidents check in.
The father of the American financial system, depending on how you feel about that.
What up, Jay?
Informs how you feel about Alexander Hamilton. But yeah, thank you to all our people who brought mailbag questions to the table. I believe we had who else? I don't know.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Nikki G for sure in the Discord.
Yeah.
Derek's moving his microphone. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Jay pops in, says, I'm in here late. Love y'all, boys. Thank you, Jay.
You know it, Jay.
The love is mutual. For everybody, please, on your way out, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live. There we go. We got the bell here today. Devon's back. The show order has been restored.
If I contribute anything,
and please hit the thumbs up button to help us in that algorithm, but also to say thank you, as always, super producer Bree, for holding it down behind the boards back there.
And on the way out, we got to get the daily Tankathon spin from
Derek.
Almost
forgot.
Got the number 4 overall pick last night?
Yes.
This is too much pressure.
VJ Edgecombe last night. I heard the guys. What do we have today? and he puts his head down. So that means.
Oh no, 6. It's 6.
Oh,
Oh.
You thought it was 7?
Yeah, no, I thought
That's a
can't
scenario
add.
we want to do a whole show about sometime soon. Until then, we will be back tomorrow night for Sixers Wizards.
I think it's 7 o'clock. It better be a 7 o'clock game for the Wizards. So 6:30 pregame. Myself, Rich, Bree, we will be here. The guys will be at the arena.
It is indeed 7 o'clock, so 6:30 pregame.
So we'll check in with the guys from the arena. Everybody, the weather's nice outside.
Wait, I also forgot. Darkness
Oh!
in the building.
Turn the lights down. The lights were too bright for Rick Pitino and St. John's.
Oh boy.
That was pretty bad. All right. That'll do it for us.
Peace
See
out,
y'all.
John. Peace.
See you tomorrow. Yes.
Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.